What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Jared Williams Show. We got our special guest, Mr. Doug Wyatt. How you doing, boss?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me here, Jared. It's an honor to be on the show once again. Thanks for having us back.
So I was sitting here just now debating whether or not to give you crap about your jacket or not.
You should. I think probably that would be the best way to start. I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
Okay, I'm not going to give you crap about your jacket. So
You
Booyah.
literally attempted to get me to strip down before the cameras went live. So
naked might get more views.
right.
You never
Well,
know.
or I think that's probably going to be 0 views or a few and then a lot of humor. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you own a company called Synergy Learning Systems, which is, I want to call it sales training, but I feel like it's slightly more than sales training. Is that fair to say?
yeah, I appreciate that. We certainly do have a component of sales training, and I think we do it a little bit different than many. But we also do leadership training, cultural development. There's a big mindset component to it because I think, if we don't have the right mindset with both ourselves as a leadership team and throughout the ranks in our organization, from the people inside the facility to the folks running the calls in the field, we're going to have a lot of challenge implementing any sort of, quote, sales training, influence type training if we don't have the proper mindset. And so we talk a lot about things from the ground rules to mindset to proper word usage, sentence structure, and it all culminates into a sales training, tech training, call center training program. But we certainly do have a heavy focus on sales, closing business with integrity.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into it a little bit.
I look forward to it.
But before we do, you guys need to go check out PlumbLineAnswers.org. They're a 24-hour answering service that will answer your phone 24 hours, believe it or not. And you pay them per booked call instead of per minute, which is awesome because they're incentivized to book the calls, which they do really, really well. And so if you're spending money on marketing and you're getting phone calls and you're in a crawl space talking to the customer, your CSR is busy, or it's the middle of the night, you can forward those calls to PlumbLine. They'll get them answered. They'll go into your CRM. You'll wake up in the morning with calls on your schedule. It's freaking awesome. Check them out, PlumbLineAnswers.org. If you say you heard about them from the Jared Williams Show or the Wealthy Plumber, you get 1 week of free booked calls. So
it's fantastic. Just to throw my hat in the ring on that as well, Jared. I think I mentioned this last time I was on the show. We have a lot of shared clients and many of them using PlumbLine. And very happy. I know that's a program you've used as well. And I've had the opportunity to hear them speak on the Wealthy Plumber live trainings that you do. So really a great company doing great things.
They're good people.
Yeah, they are.
Yep, they are good people. What's crazy is so here starting up Wahoo, I'd say 90% of our calls come in after hours and weekends.
Wow.
A massive amount.
That's a lot.
Like if we didn't have
90%.
If we didn't have PlumbLine, we'd be screwed. We wouldn't get enough calls. There'd be no way. It's crazy.
What a lesson for everybody watching today. 90% of your calls coming in after hours, outside of regular business hours.
It's a lot.
That is a lot. And you track everything meticulously. So
as good as we can.
You say that number and I believe it to the percent.
Good. I'm glad. Okay. So Mr. Sales Trainer, tell me about sales.
Oh, wow. You talk about cringeworthy. I think anybody who had logged in to watch is really close to clicking the exit button.
No.
Mr. Sales Trainer. Let's start with, we created 7 foundations of effective communication here at Synergy Learning Systems. And so anytime I hear the word sales, I do cringe. And I think most of us do. We don't like sales people. We don't want to be sold. We don't want to be closed. We don't want to be sold a bill of goods. There aren't many of us on this planet that really enjoy dealing with a, quote, salesperson.
Nope.
So in the 7 foundations of effective communication, the first thing that we outlined is foundation 1 is we start with what we call the ground rules. And the ground rules are essentially that we're not going to lie, cheat, or steal. We're not going to manipulate. We're going to influence. I believe that we have a responsibility, whether we're in the facility, we're part of the ownership or leadership team, or if we're in the field actually running the calls, I believe we have a responsibility to grab business by the horns and bring it into our company. I think our customers, on the other hand, are conditioned to perform what I like to refer to as a fiduciary responsibility.
Yep.
That
Heard
means
that before.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Yeah, they want the most and they want it for the least. Robert Cialdini, in a book called Influence, he outlines that price is a given, right? He outlines 7 other principles of influence that we can incorporate into our sales process in order to influence people to choose us. But I do think that we all have to agree that Customers want a cheaper price. And so if we want to land those customers, we have a responsibility to influence. I would prefer to call it influence than sales, but I think sales just has such a bad rap, a bad connotation, because there's so many shady sales processes, so many shady sales trainers out there.
Do you think that just comes from, because I agree with you, like, especially in the plumbing world,
Yeah.
like we interview guys, the first thing they tell us, well, I don't want to sell the customer anything they don't need.
Right.
I'm like, well, what if they want it? Anyway,
Right.
that's a whole other story, but do you think the I don't know, stigma around sales, does that come from our industry, within our industry? Is that because of sales trainers in our industry, or is that coming from used car salesmen or other industries? Like, where does that come from?
I think it's a combination, and you make a great observation there. I do think it's worse in the trades. I think that stigma is by far worse than in most other industries, and I'll share with you why that is, that I believe. But I'm going to go back to what you said just a moment ago. You bring in a technician, and they consistently say, I don't want to sell anybody anything that they don't need, right? And you say, well, what if they want it?
Yeah.
There's a difference between needs and wants. It makes me think of a Henry Ford quote. And Henry Ford was famous for a lot of things in addition to Ford Motor and the assembly line. But one of the things that I love that Henry Ford said is, he said, if I would have asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse.
Yep.
Yet he developed the combustion engine, right? The Model T. And now we have Ford Motor and all these other vehicles all over the world.
Yeah.
But back in the day, people would have said, oh, I want a good horse, or, I need a new horse, a faster horse. My horse is getting old. And so how many of us went to work today on horseback? Very few of us, likely, especially watching. How many of us ran our service calls on horseback? And so things do change over time. I think that if we were in sales in the car industry, if we were in software, if we were in real estate, if we were in mortgages, all of these other industries, they have a responsibility to have a sales team. Otherwise, their business would not exist. So those industries, you come into those knowing that there's going to be a sales department, right?
Yep.
You walk into a trade business, and that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. In fact, it's rarely the case until you get to a company where they're 5, 10, 20 million. And now they may have a sales team where the folks in the field that are doing the work with the tools are actually referring. And so we develop this personality in the trades that we hate sales. We don't want to be in sales. We didn't get into this industry to be in sales. We just want to go in and do the work. And so I think there has to be a mindset shift, especially in today's age, where we do have a responsibility to become more effective communicators, not necessarily high-pressure salespeople, but we have to work on serving others better by communicating more effectively. And so I do think that we do need to have a mindset shift. And what does it mean to sell people things that they don't need? I like to change that word. Thomas Watson, who was the founder of IBM and one of the greatest thinkers of our time, back in the 60s, 70s, IBM, for those of us a little bit older, we remember how great they were. For us younger, we kind of don't think of IBM like we would think of, one of the newer companies out there like Google or Amazon or Tesla or some of these companies, NVIDIA, companies that are taking over today's marketplace. But Thomas Watson had a quote that I also loved. He said, nothing happens until something gets sold. Now, they were known to have the best technology, but Thomas Watson was keen enough to realize that if he had a bunch of engineers that were brilliant in developing their technology at IBM, but they didn't have a department to sell it, they would never prosper. And he was right. The way that IBM became what we knew it to be, and still what they are today, is they had a sales team focused on that. It doesn't mean we have to be high pressure. It does not mean that we have to sell anything to people, things they don't need. But what I find is a lot of times people don't realize the things that we could offer. I'll give you a quick example as a plumber or a plumbing industry. If I think about being called out on, let's say, a water heater call, right? We have no hot water. So our plumber goes into the house and they kind of have these blinders on where they think, my job is to get the hot water back on, whether that's to sell a new water heater and install it, which is normally the case. But I feel like we have a further responsibility to look at the entire water distribution system and say, we're a plumbing organization that does many more things than just hot water. And it can come down to the faucets, the finishes. It could be the garbage disposal. It could be comfort height toilets, easy close lids, bidets. We could go even further and say this could be a whole home repipe. This could be water alarms. This could be safety, protection, peace of mind. We could even go all the way to say, how many plumbers are sharing that they run gas lines? It's one of the things that most homeowners don't realize, that you mean to tell me instead of going to the propane shack 7 times this summer for my barbecues,
Yep.
you mean to tell me that one time you could run a gas line and I would never have to take a trip to fill up a propane tank or carry an extra or worry about running out of propane when everybody just got to the house for the barbecue?
Yep.
It's those kind of things where it's like, well, I don't want to go in there and sell them those things because I was called to fix the hot water challenge.
Right.
And I look at that and I go, we're not selling people if we're serving them better by allowing them to know all the other things we can help them with, make their home more comfortable.
You're giving them the information they need to make the decision for themselves.
Make an informed decision,
Yeah.
right? So I do think it is worse. There is a stigma in our industry, and that is because it's kind of like the separation between I fix it, I repair it, I install it. I don't want to talk about it. I only want to show up and use my tools. And I think that does go back to the type of personalities that we attract in the trades. I am not a plumber, I'm not a technician, but I did grow up in a farming community working on tractors, changing my own transmission, change my own brakes. I don't enjoy those things because I have a little bit of PTSD because of the way my father treated me growing up. And so I don't enjoy those things, and it's why I ended up focusing on effective communication and that part instead. But I will say, I think that the personalities that we attract into the trades are not folks that want to go in there and study to work on how they communicate, influence, that ugly word, sell.
Yep.
They just want to fix, they want to work, they enjoy that, and I don't fault them for that. But as I mentioned before, Jared, I think that we're moving into a new age where we must be more effective communicators.
Well, we have to at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
like I get guys in all the time. This is what I see. They're undercharging so they can sell fine. Or maybe like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, prices were lower and you could sell, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, fast forward 20 years, it's 10,000 times more expensive to run these businesses. The equipment is way more expensive. And so you get these business owners like that come to me. We help them with their pricing.
Mm-hmm.
They go out. Next thing they struggle with is sales. Like maybe they can sell a $300 or $400 or $500 average ticket, but what I see the biggest loss in is their ability to get that average ticket up to $1,500 or $2K or $2,500 or $3,000.
Right.
So like at Prospector, my last company in Alaska, our average ticket was like it was anywhere from $2,900 to $3,900, depending on the day, right? And we didn't get that by going in and fixing little problems. Now, we fixed a lot of little problems, but we had our processes in place to get to the bigger 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K tickets. And it doesn't take a whole lot of 50K tickets to get your average ticket up to $2,500.
Right. What I'm hearing you say there, Jared, it's when you grew revenue and you had those type of average tickets at Prospector,
Yep.
you might be called out on a flap or on a toilet. They wouldn't even say that. They just say, my toilet won't stop running, right?
Right.
And so we go out and we're performing a diagnostic on that toilet. And we realize, oh, it needs a new flapper. We have a choice to walk out of there with a few $100 fixing that. Or we could do a full toilet rebuild. We could replace the toilet. We could replace all 3 toilets in the house. While there, we could also look and see that the water heater's 17 years old, been out of warranty for somewhere between 11 and 8, 7 years. Or we could then go down and say, you know, John, Jane, I noticed while I was here in your home today, this, and this. I just wanted to share with you that we do have these things available.
Yep.
A lot of times that's going to elicit a response from the homeowner to say, well, how much is that? At least now we're having the conversation. Each step in that process, it's going to require a certain mindset. The better we get at how we explain those things, it doesn't mean that we have to sell people things they don't need, but it also is the mindset to say, if I'm on a water heater call and they have a 50-gallon water heater that's been out of warranty for 6 or 8 years, do I just offer them like for like and go back in with a 50-gallon? Do I have a conversation about tankless? Do I have a conversation about endless hot water? In fact, it goes even further to say, what is the true benefit of endless hot water? Perhaps it's that they have 3 teenagers in the house and there are arguments every morning, Monday through Friday, because now they're having to tell people and set timers to say, you can't take more than a 5-minute shower because there's fights. What would it be worth for the additional investment to go from a 50-gallon to a tankless? But if we're just walking in and saying, I'm called here for a leaky toilet, and we fix that, and we don't have a conversation about the water heater or anything else, I feel like we're doing our homeowner a disservice.
I agree. I mean, if you're in front of that water heater and you see it's 17 years old, and then 2 days later that goes out, and you come back and you tell the customer, yeah, it's 17 years old. I noticed that last time I was here. They're going to be like, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah. And that could be a 1-star review. You know what?
Oh, totally.
And Jared, you as a business owner in these trades multiple times now, you also realize there's something even worse that can happen. And this just comes from the stereotype that we have as contractors. And that is, not only might they say, why didn't you notice that? Or why didn't you bring it up when you were here?
Yeah.
They actually might believe we sabotaged it.
Oh, yeah.
So we were in the home, and now they think, my water heater was working fine until you were here.
Yeah.
It's been working for 17 years, 2 days after you were here, 2 weeks after you were here. Now it doesn't work. All of a sudden, we're the bad guys. We're the culprits.
Yep.
I feel like because of that, we have a responsibility to share these things with homeowners. Now it's at least on them to say, he did show me the rust on the bottom. He did share with me that this has been out of warranty for approaching a decade, and that the standard tank life on this without the anode rods is going to be 6 years. And so homeowners don't know that. They just think, my water heater's 17 years old and it's worked fine. It should work for another 17.
Yeah.
That's what they want to convince themselves of.
Yeah.
And now we're the bad guys because we somehow sabotaged it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that happens a lot.
You dirty rat. Yeah.
You dirty rat, you dirty rotten scoundrel.
You and your sport coat sabotage my water heater.
Yeah. By the way, the sport coat, since you have brought it up, and I know we talked about this on the last time I was on the show. The sport coat, to me, this isn't how I grew up. This is a uniform because I never went as far as becoming a master plumber. I'm not an HVAC technician. I don't carry tools. And so for me, it's just simply to say, I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the men and women in the trades that are doing the heavy lifting in the field, that are actually out there using the tools, doing the work. And it's dangerous work, right? We hold people's lives in our hands every day when we're replacing the flue pipe on a water heater, when we're dealing with the gas lines. We could create a leak. We could put some people in some very dangerous situations, if not life-threatening. So I do respect the work. I wear a sport coat as out of respect for the people in the field, to say, I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not just to get additional views on a podcast or at a training, right? Because my guess is, Jared, you're probably going to have fewer views because you had the guy with the sport coat on.
Totally. Totally.
We might just have to strip down here
maybe,
a little bit.
Maybe we redeemed him by laughing about it first thing. I don't know. We'll find out.
I can definitely laugh about it. I grew up shirtless, shoeless, just a good old country boy from Southwest Missouri, running around baling hay and doing those sort of things, hunting, fishing. I just, when I come on a podcast like yours, I just want to show respect to the audience and say, I'm not out there doing that work in the field, but I do believe we could help you have conversations that could help you hold margin and maybe increase those average tickets. Before we move on from this, Jared, I thought about something else you said. When your tickets went to whatever you said at $2,900, I think you said, and you mentioned a $50,000 home repipe, that's going to increase your average tickets. I will also say, you didn't increase, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't hear you say, I started charging $2,900 for a partial toilet rebuild.
No.
It was, we may be called out on-demand service calls where people see something as an emergency or quasi-emergency, something they want taken care of, a leaky faucet, a garbage disposal, a toilet that won't stop running, a drain that won't drain. All of a sudden, we're in the home, we're diagnosing the entire plumbing system.
I think that's where the secret's at.
Making additional recommendations, and then we're priced right. We're not charging an overwhelming amount for the work we're doing. We're doing more work.
So in Alaska, we were pretty expensive. It was expensive to run up there. And my whole philosophy of business has changed over the last 2 years. And I've learned a lot, okay? In Alaska, we were expensive. I'm guessing we could have been cheaper and made more money. So the crazy part right now is we are probably $200 an hour cheaper here in Florida.
Wow.
And my guys sell more, they produce more revenue here than my guys in Alaska did.
Okay.
And the reason is that we've just gotten better at going into homes and getting to the root cause of the issues or diagnosing the whole plumbing system, just like you were talking about. So $200 an hour cheaper, and they're producing like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 more a week than my guys were in Alaska.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
Yeah. I think, I think about this stuff a lot, and you and I are both guys that think a lot about pricing strategy in our trades. I think what's happening there is it's kind of like the Walmart philosophy, right? If you think about going into Walmart, they have tens of thousands of products on the shelves.
Yep.
Walmart has a strategy to be the low price leader, and they're going to make a few pennies, but they have so many millions of customers and billions of dollars of transactions.
Yep.
You shave a few pennies off of that in profit, you're going to be doing very well. You look at that at the locally owned convenience store down the street, they don't have the same buying power. They can go out there and let's just say that they sell the same bag of chips, same exact brand, same ounce, same thing that Walmart's selling, but they're, let's just say, $1.50 more, right?
My mother is going to go to Walmart.
Yeah.
If it's 10 cents cheaper,
The
even if she's got to drive 3 times as far.
There you go.
To save 10 cents.
And part of that is convenience. Part of that is the mindset that we know, okay, we're probably going to get a better deal at Walmart. So that's a strategy. What I would say is you can have a strategy in the trades and you could say, okay, we're going to be the premium price and we're going to deliver the most value. If you do that, I believe that we're only going to be able to have customers in about 60 to 70% of the marketplace. But I believe that there's about 30 to maybe 40% of the market that are do-it-yourselfers. They are looking for the cheapest. They're not going to listen to a presentation or how we add value. So 30 to 40% of the market is going to be removed from your potential customer base, no matter how good we are, no matter if we're the best plumbing or HVAC company or the best tradesman, no matter if we do have the best communication strategy, there's going to be a segment of the market, about a third, that's just not going to pay us. Then you take your strategy and you go, okay, we're going to be the best at all that, but then we're also going to have this pricing strategy where we're not the most expensive in town.
And all it is saying we don't have to be the most expensive because we actually go in and don't just sell a flapper. We actually take care of our customers,
right?
Which allows us to produce more revenue on every call, which means we don't have to be as expensive for our customers.
And so there's this balance there. And so if I think about that and I go, if you were in my home and I realized you're not the cheapest, but you're also not the most expensive, but you've provided the most overwhelming value, I'm willing to invest a little bit more to have you do it. And if you're willing to do it for less, I'm still going to use you because you've increased your value proposition in my mind.
Correct.
For example, if we were head to head, and let's just say that you were head to head with another company that didn't do all the additional things that you do, you didn't have your team communicating the way they do on the phones in the home, you didn't have these beautiful wraps, all that value that you're adding. And then you ask the customer at the end, let's just say that, let's pick out a water heater. And let's say that you're $1,000 more. Say it's a tankless, and let's just throw out some numbers. Let's say you're at 9,000, somebody else is 8. And they say, well, Jared, these other guys will do the exact same water heater, same serial number, model number, everything is the same, and they're $1,000 less. If you ask that customer, if we were the same exact price, who would you go with? Those customers are going to look you and your team in the eye and say, oh, well, we'd go with you. And there you know you have created more value in their mind. Our job is not to simply sell a $9,000 tankless water heater or an $8,000. It is to create enough value that they choose to go with us, even if we're a little bit more. I can't imagine that you're the most economical solution in the area here in your marketplace. You're somewhere, you're just not at the very top.
From it.
Right. And so if your team is asking that question when they get hit with a price objection and the homeowner has that concern, we just could simply say, if we were the same, who would you go with? And they don't know, then we have to look and point that finger inward and say, wow, we have not done a good job building our value. I'm not saying that just that question is going to help us close the sale. We have a little bit more that we need to do there, but right there in our homeowner's mind, we know we are creating more value. That's what they want to invest in. Now it's our responsibility to share that this isn't child's play. I mean, we're dealing with things that go bump in the night, very sharp tools, gas lines, things that could explode, things that could leak. It's very dangerous what we do. And if we're not bringing that to the frontal lobe awareness of the consumer, that's on us. We need to be doing that on every single call.
Agreed. Okay. I feel like we need to go backwards a little bit.
Okay.
So how did you get into the trades?
Great question.
Because you didn't start in the trades.
No, I
You
didn't.
started pizza coupons.
Yeah,
If you want to hear that story, go listen to the last one.
listen
But
to the last one we did. I think that one was released somewhere around November, late October, November of 2025.
Sure.
If you scroll back
I
that
have
far.
no idea, but sure. Just look for the suit coat.
I just
You'll see
remember the
it.
last time I was here, and we were doing the Hoorah event. And I
Maybe
think that
that's
was
the advantage to the suit coat.
October
is
1st.
People can
There
find
you go.
in the thumbnails.
If you found
There you
any
go.
value at all, or you just find this humorous and you'd like to be entertained and laugh at the guy in the sport coat, then just scroll back.
You actually have a good story. It was cool.
All right.
Yeah, I've
I
gotta
will
listen
keep
to
it
it.
brief so that if you want to hear the whole story, Jared mentioned pizza coupons. You've heard my story. I kind of started out in the trades in my childhood, right? I was working on stuff. And then, as I mentioned just a little bit ago on this podcast, it didn't resonate with me just because of the way my father behaved. And so I went away from that. I got a college basketball scholarship and played at a small school in Kansas and then transferred to CU out in Colorado. And it was there that I started a pizza coupon book. I hated sales people. I hated sales processes. My dad hated salespeople. It was really the last thing I wanted to do, but I was also really tired of being broke. And being broke won out. And I just thought, I got to learn to do something where I'm not working for minimum wage. And so that was where the coupon story came from. And I started reading a lot of books on sales, started going to see trainers like Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins, Stephen Covey, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, a lot of these greats from back in the day that taught communication strategy, sales, mindset. And so I did start a coupon business, learned how to sell, started writing training manuals to train my own team. But how I got into the trades, after the coupon business where we were promoting restaurants, mostly pizzerias, one day, a business partner of mine was on the golf course, and he met a guy who had started an HVAC company in Colorado. And I sat down with that guy a week or two later for coffee, and we were talking about an opportunity to invest in his company. And at the time, my restaurant business partner and I were thinking about moving our families to Kansas City, Missouri, and opening 3 Del Tacos. We currently own 6 Papa Murphy's and 3 Subways at that time. And we looked at each other and we said, we don't know much about plumbing, heating, air conditioning, electrical, but we do know how to scale teams. We do know how to recruit people, get them excited about an opportunity, train them incredibly well, create a culture second to none. What if we put those skill sets that we're using right now, that I used to build a crew of college kids selling door-to-door in 7 states while I was in college, and what we're using right now to sell a lot of pizzas, what if we put those skills to work in the trades? And we did. And within a year, I started in 2006. I invested $250,000 into a HVAC company. We then consolidated, bought a couple of other small companies, and one company that had a big commercial HVAC and plumbing division, which we didn't know a thing about. We ended up shutting it down very quickly because we were losing our tail on that, and margins were very small, and we just didn't know it well enough to keep it. I share that to say I got into the trades with $250,000 investment into a fledgling HVAC company, very quickly became an HVAC and plumbing company. In 2009, 3 years into this, we were ranked by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing privately held companies in America, 1,690 on the list. I'm really proud of that, because we did that in what many have called the worst economy since the Great Depression.
Yep.
We didn't do it by being cheap. We did it by communicating with our customers better. We did it by serving them better and having conversations much like the ones we're talking about here and that you're having with your team right now every single day, Jared. We did it and we doubled revenue while many other companies were going out of business.
Yep.
And that was my deep dive into the trades. 2006 to 2009, I was really getting my feet wet, but I was headfirst, dove in, and just figured out, how do we answer our phones? Every word that we choose to share matters. How do we dispatch for profit? How do we recruit guys that truly care about their future, their family, and our customers, that are willing to work hard and get good at this side of the business too? And how do we do that consistently in the home where we're not ripping people off, we're not lying? I teach something I call the grandmother rule, Jared, and that is that if you wouldn't recommend it to your very own grandmother that you love dearly, then we shouldn't be recommending it to our homeowner. So it's never about manipulating somebody or convincing them to buy something that's not in their best interest. It's creating win-win agreements that are good for the homeowner, good for the technician, and good for the business. We've got to have some profit left over.
So when you first got into that company, invest $250,000, show up day one, like, what did you see? Like, like you walk in, what did you see? And then what did you have to do to like get that thing to where it needed?
I think I wanted to quit. I think,
Yeah.
I remember going back to the back of the shop, and the best installer was trying to explain to me before I did a ride along, and I was going to be a helper that day to help them install a furnace and AC system. And he thought he would explain to me that there's no such thing as cold air.
Okay.
And he tried to explain to me that there's only air with heat removed. And so that's the way a coil works.
Yep.
Most of us understand that. Crazy thing is, Jared, at the age of, at that time, I was probably about 30 years old. I had never thought about how is it that my air conditioner in my car on a day when it's 102 degrees outside is blowing cold air from what seems like the engine. I never thought about it. And I think most homeowners don't really think about that stuff.
I
We
don't
just
think
go,
they care.
it blows cold air.
Yeah.
And so he started talking to me about refrigerants and copper and heat transfer and sucking, the heat out of the air and then dispelling it, and talking about why there's water under a car on a hot day, the condensation. And that's where I started in the trades, not knowing much more than how to turn up and down my own thermostat and having a little bit of understanding about mechanics and tools. But I was thinking maybe I made the wrong decision, that I was in over my head. I'm just a guy that works until I figure it out. And I still wouldn't say I have it all figured out, but I am willing to work 12, 14-hour days to try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And my claim to fame, I like to say, I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you have a cutout of him here in your facility.
Yep.
And he has a famous quote that he says, "I'm going to be the hardest worker in the room." And I found that when I don't understand something, if I just put my nose down and I watch more tapes, if I listen to more tapes, watch more videos, read more books, study harder, study longer, get up earlier, stay up later, I can usually figure it out to the point where at least I don't go broke.
Yep.
And maybe I can understand it in my mind. But I'm not the smartest guy, I will say. I just try to outwork people. Most people can read a book once or twice. I listen to it 10 to 20 times at 2x on Audible. So it takes me half the time to listen to it, but I listen to that thing 10 to 20 times before it really gets through. So when I started in the trades, I had a lot to learn. I had an uphill battle, but immediately I just thought, okay, I just went on this ride along, and I cannot believe how bad that conversation went at the front door, or what they said on the phone on our way over to the place we were getting ready to show up at in 15 minutes. And then it got even worse as we got into the home. And I'm cringing, thinking, if I was this homeowner, I would be scared to death that these are the people in my house, or I'd just be ready to throw them out. And so I immediately thought, where I can be of benefit is, let's talk about words, cadences, voice inflection, body language, eye contact, the things that we can do to make people feel comfortable and earn their trust, lower risk, and create an emotion that isn't people are scared to death of the contractor in their house. And so that was where I really felt like I found my lane, found my sweet spot, and said, this is where I belong, because there is a need in the trades for how we communicate. On the phones, in person, service, sales, install, and call center. It's pretty rough out there in many situations.
So what was that company doing revenue-wise when you walked in, and what were they doing when you left?
The first one in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
That first one in 2006, I think we ended up that year at around $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, we were at 3 million. And then when the economy tanked, many companies regressed in revenue, started selling the cheapest equipment available. We decided to raise prices, go more premium, decided to focus on what we considered the 2/3 of the marketplace that would pay for our value, or we were going to go broke quickly. And in the face of all that adversity, we went from 3.5 million to 7 million that next year. And that ended up landing us a training agreement with a major manufacturer that put us out on the road to teach others how we were doing it. So it was very rapid growth if we were to compare those numbers today, because remember that was 2006, 7, 8, and then going into 09. Back then, going from 3.5 to 7 million on residential heating and air conditioning and plumbing projects, on-demand service. It wasn't like we were doing new construction. We weren't doing 50 homes at a time.
Right.
It was one house at a time, one on-demand repair call. The heat's not working. We've got a leak. The water, we didn't have any hot water. To go from 3.5 million to 7 million as a new company was a really big deal back in the early 2000s. That same equipment, I would look at that today and go, well, equipment is at least doubled, if not tripled. So our revenue these days, I'd like to believe in the same scenario, all things being equal, with inflation and equipment prices, that 3.5 to 7 would have been closer from 7 million to 14.
Right.
So rapid revenue growth, and as you know, Jared, that sometimes we get in the habit of saying, "Oh, must be nice, all these trucks." It also doesn't mean we were profitable. Right. I mean, when you're scaling and you're buying more trucks, wrapping more vans, putting more Mastercraft shelving in, $10,000 to $15,000 in inventory, it's almost unlikely, unless you were incredibly premium priced, that you're going to have a nice net as long as you have that type of rapid growth.
Yep.
We're building websites. We're hiring new people. We're putting people in uniforms. We're buying new tablets. We're getting the best software. We're hiring companies to answer our phones after hours. It's like it never ends. So I would just say for anybody watching today, if you feel like you're making progress, but the bank account is not showing it, hang in there. But also, it's probably going to require that we do some different things in the way we communicate, the way that we influence. And if we do that consistently, then all of a sudden we can start turning maybe a company that's barely squeaking by into a profitable revenue machine. And we don't have to rip anybody off to do it. But we do need to maybe make better decisions on the current calls that we have, meaning let's not just fix what we were called there for. Let's have a comprehensive conversation about the entire water distribution system, all the drains, all the things that you're doing with plumbing, even the gas line, running gas lines to gas grills, things that people aren't thinking about. And you can go from a $500 average ticket to $2,900. And those can continue to grow as then we go, okay, now we're going to do a whole home repipe. Now, instead of just doing a hydrojet, we're actually going to replace the water service or the sewer line all the way out to the street. Not to tell somebody they need something when they don't, to have a more honest, upfront conversation and then to show them the benefits of doing those things rather than just repairing things that maybe have seen better days.
So what did it take to get your technicians to do that in that business?
A lot of inspiration, a lot of open lines of communication. But one of the things that I believe, Jared, is that we as the business owners sometimes we think we're too tough on the team, and I find that many times we're a little bit too soft.
I agree.
We allow prima donnas that have the brilliant skills in the field to maybe run roughshod over us a little bit in the facility.
Yep.
It amazes me. I'll talk to even some of our shared clients very early on when they onboard with you or I, and they've not had a meeting, company-wide meeting, to talk about those things in maybe years. The company I joined in 2015, my second stint in the trades, hadn't gotten together for a company-wide meeting to talk about operations, sales, objection handling, talking about areas of concern, talking about how to offer options, give 3 or 4 different options in 18 years. They'd never had one, Jared.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the first thing we got to do is we got to say, make it important. It's got to become important. It's got to, can I back up just a little bit?
Yep.
I believe that in the trades, there are 3 pillars. One pillar is we have to know how to do the work, right?
Yep.
We can't have an HVAC or a plumbing company, an electrical company, if we don't know how to do the work. So we either must be able to do it ourselves, or we must have people in the field that are really good at that so we don't have callbacks and recalls consistently.
Yep.
So we must focus on mastering our skills on the technical side. I'll get to the sales in a minute. The second pillar is that of admin and operations, and I also loop cash flow and marketing into that. We've got to become masters of money. We've got to think about what does our website communicate, who's answering our phones, all those different things, who's counting the money, where is it being distributed, right? the CPA, the accounting clerk, our collections, our accounts receivable, our accounts payable, and everything else that goes with operations. That might also include, how are we handling our credit? How are we buying vans? Are we buying used vans? Do we have white vans? Do we have a company designing our wraps? All of those things. You're big on marketing, Jared, and whether it's billboards, radio, television,
Yep.
that's all operations, which I believe marketing fits in there. The third pillar, if we want to have long-term success, if we want to be profitable, I believe we've got to make that third pillar the art of communication. That's the thing that I've chosen to focus on. So I don't focus on the first pillar, the technical side, and the field expertise. I know enough to be dangerous there, but I also know quite a bit about the admin and operations, but it doesn't get me out of bed in the morning fired up to go to work. I believe that is where your skill set, I mean, obviously you have the skills in the field, but I am blown away at your skills when it comes to getting on these calls with these men and women and talking about their financials and their pricing structures and their menu-based pricing, all those things. My thing that I love, that I'm passionate about, is how do we sell more without ever being a pushy salesperson, without being that sleazy snake in the grass, I'm lying, I'm cheating, I'm fudging here a little bit just to make a sale. I don't believe in that. I teach the exact opposite. I like to say I bring my down-home country values to the trades. I just bring it on the effective communication and influence side. And so how do we get our guys to do it? Number one, we have to make it a third pillar. It has to be something, even in our interview process, that we say, this is what we do.
Yep.
And for me, number one, we have to say, we're not going to treat somebody like we wouldn't treat our own grandmother. We're going to treat them like our own family. We're going to work on win-win agreements. So number one, if they have the ground rules that they say, okay, this is a little bit outside of my comfort zone, out of my skill set. I didn't want to study. I didn't want to train. And I certainly didn't want to role play different standards of communication in the home. But if it is that way at this organization, I love this organization, we're not doing it to rip somebody off, I'll work on it. So I got to have an attitude of effort. I don't need perfection, but I do need effort.
In those companies you're involved in, were you involved in the hiring for that reason?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have a guy come in, and if he has the best technical skills, but looks me in the eye in an interview and says, I am not role playing, or I'm not going to wear a clean uniform, or I'm not going to show up on time, or I'm not going to have my facial hair look intentional. I'm not willing to wear a company hat. I don't want to wear a uniform. I don't care how good his skills are. I'm just going to save myself the headache and not bring that guy on, right? If he says he's willing to try, if he says, I've never done those things before, but I like what you've got going on here, I'm willing to learn, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for effort. I am looking for what we might consider a B player. Doesn't have to be an A on his skill set on communication, but a B is somebody to me who's hungry. They're willing to work at it. They're willing to get better at it. So how do we change the culture? Number one, I believe that if we find that we have cancer, and I want to be careful here because I don't want to attribute this to somebody who's really been through a health challenge, but I will say, to me, it's this simple. If we legitimately have a health challenge with cancer, we have three options if we want to make it. We ignore it, we cure it, or we cut it out.
Yep.
And so I look at that with our staff. It doesn't matter where they are, in our leadership team, in our call center, in the field, in our warehouse. If I have a person that looks at me and says, I'm not going to get better, I'm not going to try, that to me is, we have a cancer now within our organism, right? Within the cellular structure of our company. I have a choice. This is why I say I think many of us are too soft as business owners. We will allow that person to stay because they're great in the field, and we don't want to lose their skill set of doing the repairs or the installations.
Yep.
And so we make amends, and this is like what I would consider the definition of allowing a prima donna to stay. I'm just going to call them a cancer if they literally look us in the eye and say, I ain't doing it. But we don't have to fire them. That would be cutting out the cancer. My first option would be, let me bring this man or woman in. Let's have an honest conversation about what we're trying to accomplish here and why we're going to serve our community better, not steal from them, not rip them off, not charge them more than we should. We are going to serve people better. If they can't get on board with that, and they're not willing to try, show up at a meeting, work on a 90-second role play to mastery every week, then I've got to say, I did my best to try to cure them. And I truly believe that should only require about 30 days to create a new habit. And I'm okay if they make mistakes along the way. What I'm not okay is if they just do I ain't doing it. And I see this all the time. The arms crossed, the head down in the meeting, the staring at us like we're the worst thing to happen to them and their life and their family. If that man or woman doesn't want to participate in what we're trying to do to serve our customers better, I've got to say at some point, and for me, it's 30 days, I got to let them go.
Yep.
But I actually just have a whole method where, I don't know if we have time to do it today, Jared, but I just have a whole thing over a 30-day plan. You could call it a performance plan. You could say, this is a disciplinary meeting. There's a lot of different things we can call it, but I'm going to make sure that it's in writing. I'm going to share with them that all the things that I love that they're doing well and that makes them great. And I would consider this in leadership, the sandwich. One side of the bun is, hey, Jared, I love this about you. You're a great man. You're a great father. I love the things that you're doing here in regard to your work in the field. And then the middle of the sandwich is the meat. And this is where I find that many of us...
I call it the shit.
Okay.
I call it a shit sandwich.
Yeah. This is the part that
Call
they
it
need
what
to
you
hear.
want it, but I call it a shit sandwich.
It doesn't sound very tasty, but sometimes these
Sorry,
conversations aren't fun.
My dad doesn't cuss, so I got to say sorry if I
Yeah.
cuss.
And my mother has said, Doug, she says, Douglas, don't you cuss. And so
She doesn't say Douglas Wyatt.
Sometimes she does. I know that if I hear Douglas Wyatt, I'm in trouble and I probably let something slip out. But that middle of the sandwich, Jared, for what I'm going to refer to as the meat, that's the heart of the matter. That is what we have to talk to this man or woman about. At the end of it, I'm going to put everything that we talked about in writing. I'm going to have a lot of it written down before the meeting even starts.
Yep.
I'm going to have them initial each thing that we talked about, much like the car dealership has you initial the financing paperwork. There's anywhere from 3 pages to 10 pages that they just initial here, initial here, initial here. Why do they do that? Because they've learned their lesson over time of the way consumers are. They're going to come, I didn't know that. Well, our people that work for us are very similar to that.
Yep.
They're going to come back in 15 days and go, I didn't remember you saying that. So we're going to put it in writing at the end of that page. It might be 2, might be 3 pages long. They are going to sign it. I'm going to sign it. We're going to date it. And at that initial meeting where we're talking about the meat, we're going to set a date 30 days out. You know, if today I think is the 8th of the month, I'm going to set that for the 8th of next month. That happens to be on a Saturday or Sunday. We'll set it for a Monday or a Friday. And when we get back together, we are going to review our progress. It doesn't have to be perfection. Our progress, our energy, our enthusiasm, our effort that we put forward to what that meeting was all about in the meat. And we're going to see how we did. And essentially what I would share with my team is, when we review this from 30 days from now, you will have had 30 days to create new habits. If it's a one-off and you're a little bit late, I'm not going to fault you for it. Hey, we're getting better because you've been late every day the past 3 weeks. If we only have one tardy, hey, as long as you have a reason and we talk about it and we make sure we know what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again, I'm not going to can somebody because of that. But essentially I share with them, I would say, and when we get back together on the 8th of next month, we will have either made tremendous progress, you will have created new habits, or you will turn in your resignation. Fair enough? And then I would always finish with something like, Jared, I can't want this more than you want it for you. These are things, and all along the way, by the way, Jared, I'm going to say, do you feel like that's fair? Do you feel like you're capable? Do you feel like you can show up on time? Everybody else is here on time. Are you willing to tuck in your shirt? Are you willing to wear our logo like a badge of honor? Are you willing to work on these role plays so that we can get better at serving our customers, so we can share more of the products and services with them that can improve their lives? I've never had a person in those meetings that doesn't say, no, that's fair. Yeah, I can get better at that. And then I say, great. Now that we're on the same page, in the next 30 days, if we haven't made tremendous progress and I don't see the energy, I'll say it again, the energy, the effort, the enthusiasm, the passion towards doing these things so that we can be great and be who we say we are when we tell our customers, then we just have to part ways and I'll accept your resignation. 30 days is plenty of time to fix it, right?
I would think so.
One day is plenty of time to fix it.
Yep.
1 minute. They can make that choice. They can get up earlier. They can bathe. They can put on a nice uniform. We're paying for their uniforms. We're laundering their uniforms. What I'm trying to do is eliminate all excuses. And listen, if I bear some responsibility in here, I'm more than open to always saying, heckle me. If they say, well, Doug, since I started, you said you would work on this with me. And I would say, oh, okay, well, then let me make sure that I bring the energy. This is a two-way street, right? You got to bring the energy to me. I got to bring the energy to you. If I'm at fault here, that's what this meeting is also for. I'm willing to take extreme ownership, as Jocko Willink would say in his book, Extreme Ownership. But at the end of the day, we're going to say, we're going to agree to this. In 30 days, you're either getting the job done or you're not. And if you're not, we're going to part ways. That, to me, go back to the cancer example, Jared, that is, I'm not just bringing people in. I don't have a guillotine in the back where I'm lopping off people's heads at the first sign that they got a bad attitude. We're all going to have bad attitudes. We're going to have bad days. We're going to have fights with our significant others. We're going to have kids in trouble at school.
Yep.
We're going to have financial challenges, spiritual challenges, health challenges. I think we need to have our teams back. We need to be good people ourselves. At the same time, we can expect an even exchange of energy. And so we get through those 30 days, and if I just don't feel that even exchange of energy, and I feel like I want this for them more than they want it for them, now we're back in that cancer example, and I just say, we got to cut it out because it's going to fester and it's going to infect other people here. That 30 days is what I consider the cure. The cure is the meeting. The cure is the signed document. It's the signature, the initials in writing, 30 days on the follow-up. That's going to be where now we've either cured it or we haven't. What I see many people do is they choose that third option and they just try to ignore it. They hope it gets better.
I'd say 99% of them probably choose that option.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we look at a health challenge like cancer, we understand if we just don't do anything, we don't start thinking differently, eating differently, exercising differently, and perhaps get some treatment of whatever kind that our doctor and our team of doctors has recommended. We all inherently know within a few months or a year, I'm dead.
Yep.
Depends on the cancer and the stage and all that. But within a few years, if I don't treat it, it's dead. Yet, what I see with us as many leaders and business owners, especially in the trades, we just say, I hope it gets better because, this person's doing a good job for me in this area, or we're friends, or we've been fishing together, or it's my kid or my brother. And
Seems like most of the time they're just scared because they don't know what to do. Like they don't know. They're scared of letting a guy go because they're going to lose the revenue from the guy. I don't know. They're just scared. They don't know. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to hire people.
I was just going to say.
They don't know how to get better people in the door.
For everyone listening, perhaps we should share how we solve that because you're right. It is fear that drives those decisions.
Yeah.
Because we go, what if I don't have a person to do the work?
You start running your business in fear of employees or in fear of customers or those kinds of things rather than running it how it should be run.
So we do a couple of things, I think, and you're a master at this, Jared. We set structure. We set systems and operations. We have a training regimen. If I had a guy that was the most incredible plumber, and let's just say we have 4 trucks on the road, and I've got one guy who's great. I've got 3 guys that really cause a lot of challenges, right? They're a little more green or they haven't invested the time to become masters in the field. I've got to start immediately doing cross-training. That's the first pillar, right? I've got to make sure that we're technically competent and then technically excellent. If I've only got one guy that's excellent, other guys that are borderline competent, that's on me as a leader to start to fix that. Systems, operations, ongoing training. I've got to make sure that those guys can do that. Then our admin and operations, that's a whole different animal. But then on the effective communication, the mindset, and all those things, we've got to make sure that we're training them on that too. So 2 things, and how do we solve this challenge so that we're not fearful when we have somebody that we feel like we're being leveraged by and I can't afford to let them go? Number 1, we've got to set that systems and structures and a training program so that they're not leveraging us as the only person that knows how to do that work or that job.
Yep.
Number 2, we've got to become stronger leaders and we've got to be able to communicate the vision of our company in a way that attracts people to us. If we don't have a stable of thoroughbreds that are wanting to come to work for us, I would say, and if this was me, I would say now we have to look at that third pillar, the effective communication, that ongoing hiring and training and all of that. We've got to make that a focus. We can't just hope that that guy doesn't quit or we don't have to end up firing him and then all of a sudden try to replace him and have a van sitting idle or get back into the truck ourselves. Many times that's the case. I always wanted a stack of resumes on my desk. I'm constantly interviewing. I'm constantly looking for people that would fit the mold, getting them excited about an opportunity so that at some point when I do have to make a difficult decision, it's not as difficult because I know I have somebody to fill that seat because I have a bunch of people in my region that are excited about coming to work for me and plugging into this training. I think that's key. So systems, structure, training, and then on the other end, recruitment ongoing. One of the biggest challenges I see and one of the biggest problems I see in small businesses is they're so busy doing the work that they're not working on some of these other things, like the effective communication, the words that they're choosing to share, how do they handle things like bids and brands, installs and price, and then other big rock is they don't have a stack of resumes of people lying in wait, chomping at the bit to come to work for us. The only way that we can make that happen, Jared, is to get better at communicating our vision, communicating our passion. Foundation 7 in our program, Jared, is what we call the EKG method. The EKG, the heart rate monitor, right? An electrocardiogram. Jared, what happens if you're in the hospital and you hear the EKG that you're hooked up to flatline?
What happened? I'm not going to hear it.
Yeah, you're probably not going to hear
hearing
it. If it's somebody that you care about and you're sitting there and it stays flatlining, what does it mean, Jared?
It means they're dead.
It means they're dead. We are also dead if we don't figure out a way to communicate our vision with some passion.
Yep.
If we can't add a little volume, a little excitement, if we can't get ourselves to speak a little bit faster, to sit in an interview and have somebody walk out of there and go, this place is amazing. This is where I want to work. I want somebody walking out of an interview going, I don't know if I can cut it there. Like those people have it dialed in. Mm-hmm. Like my nonsense probably ain't going to fly around there. Mm-hmm. Like the way they talk about having their organization dialed in, their inventory, their trucks, their jobs. I don't think I could cut it there and be late every day. I think I'd actually have to get up and put a uniform on, probably have to tuck it in and wear a belt. Yep. I'd have to wear a company hat there. Yeah, you would. You'd have to wear it like a badge of honor. And so I want to run an interview in a way where it's almost scaring that person. Because if you think the interview was tough, wait till we get started. But the only way we're going to have people wanting to come and hitch their wagon to us is if they feel we have a wagon worth hitching it to.
Agreed.
If we're a soft personality as a leader, people are not attracted to that. Some people are turned off by it. I would rather turn off a C player that has no intention of putting forth effort and inspire a B or an A to say, this ain't going to be easy, but this guy believes in where he's going, and I'm going to follow him wherever he's going. That's what I'm trying to do in an interview. And then I'm going to get a stack of resumes. I want my men in the field to be talking to other guys at supply houses. And when they go, I've been seeing your trucks around. What do you guys, what's it like working over there? I want them to look at them and go, it's crazy, man. I don't know if you could handle it. Yeah. I want that guy challenged to be like, I'm the best there is. What do you mean I couldn't handle it? I'm telling you, the way we get after it, the way we work, and we don't lie, we don't cheat, but boy, do we work hard. We work on our skills. We work on our mindset. We work on our technical skills. We work to be the best in every area. I want the right guy at the supply house. I want that guy who has a friend working across town. I want him to have the confidence to go get his buddy, to quit his job and come to work for us. I challenge business owners all the time, Jared, to say, do you know why most of the people working for you aren't bringing people in the door that are also wanting to work for you? Because they don't want to put their stamp of approval on your company because they're afraid they're going to get their buddy to quit their job at the plumbing company across town, and they're going to come in, and within the first week, they're going to look at the buddy and go, well, you had me quit my job for this nonsense? Yep. You guys don't have meetings. You're not doing any training. You guys don't show up to work on time. You don't show up to jobs on time. You don't finish jobs on time. Homeowners are giving us 1-star reviews. That guy's not referring his buddies. He's not talking to the guy at the supply house about, I don't know if you could make it, but this is the best place to work in town. That's what we have to create within our organization. Before you know it, we will have a stack of resumes of guys that are saying, when can I start? When can I start?
I 100% agree. So when you started training your guys, like what were the first few things you started training them on? And like, how did they respond to the training? Because I imagine you had a bunch of people in this company. You hadn't had a meeting for how many years? 18 years?
18
Okay.
years that company hadn't had a meeting.
And you come in, I don't know if you had the same amount of energy you have today back then, but I can imagine you bring these guys in, they haven't had a meeting for 18 years, and here's Doug Wyatt getting all energetic at them.
Jared, this is
how'd that go?
On a scale of 1 to 10 on my energy level today.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remain calm because you're so chill.
Okay.
And I know you hate salespeople. That's why I don't even like to be called a salesperson. You and I have developed a great friendship over the years because our friend Eddie Barker said, Jared, he's different. He's different. I had a lot more energy, and I still do, in front of a room, Jared. This is the toned down version of me, 1 to 10. Today, I'm at about a 2 or a 3. You saw me speak at your Hoorah event last year. It gets pretty intense pretty fast.
Yep.
I'm coming in at a 10, maybe an 11 if it's possible on a scale of 1 to 10. And so you asked me, what is the first thing that we're going to work on? Number one, we got to start working on the ground rules, right? Foundation 1 is we are going to treat people like our very own family. Number 2, we got to start working on our mindset. We've got to be able to see ourselves differently. Number 3, I'm going to start with something I would consider remedial, but it's not. It's the words we choose to share matter. That's the Wordsmith program. That's Foundation 3. Foundation 3 is what we're doing is we're starting to build what I would call like, you ever seen The Karate Kid? Wax on, wax off.
Yep.
Right? Danielson didn't know he was learning how to fight. He didn't know he was learning karate. He just thought Mr. Miyagi was wasting his time. He got very frustrated.
He wanted his car waxed.
Waxed. He wanted his floors buffed. He wanted the paint, the fence painted. And he was like, I'm doing all this work. And then all of a sudden it's like, he starts throwing kicks and punches and Daniel, wax on, wax off, paint the fence. And so this is what we're doing in the 7 foundations. Foundation 3 is the wordsmith. The words we choose to share matter. Words as simple as price, cost, fee, charge, spend, pay. Those are what we at Synergy call the dirty words of anti-persuasion. We're going to wordsmith those to words like invest, investment. We think of an investment as a positive thing. We think about the cost of something, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. The price of something is something that should be negotiated. Fees, people don't like fees, right? Baggage fees, ATM fees, bank fees, paper statement fees. Parking fees. None of us want fees. Yet we're telling people we have a diagnostic fee, a trip fee. I'm going to say, how about we have an investment to diagnose? How about we have an investment to send a professionally trained licensed technician in a fully stocked roving warehouse in our vans with all the proper tools, all of the proper training with a drug test and a background check. See, that's different than saying we have a trip fee of $99. We have a diagnostic fee of $49. We've got to start changing the words that we share, and we have hundreds of those. Foundation 4, those where it starts really getting interesting. Rare listening. It's an acronym that we created that teaches people how to listen without having to be a high-pressure salesperson. We all think we listen, and we go, oh, well, I listen well, and that just means we think we shut up and stop talking. There is a way to effectively listen, so we teach that in Rare. It's repeat, acknowledge the emotion, rephrase and relate, and then we finally get to the final E. So that second R is R squared. The final E is express. Foundation 5, and I am answering your question, believe it or not, but it's a lot.
Okay.
Foundation 5 is we're going to talk about generalization and transition statements, lowering sales resistance, lowering conflict. We're leveraging social proof, authority, consistency by talking about what other people in the community are doing to solve similar challenges. Not the same, because people want to be unique. Foundation 6 is we just talk about the psychology of sales, why the science of how the brain works, and persuasion science, the way it works, the way it does. We have to make sure that we understand they know why we're doing what we're doing. Foundation 7, I mentioned a minute ago, it's where we put it all together, the flat line, the EKG. We got to be sometimes up, down, sometimes a little bit louder, sometimes much softer, speak a little faster sometimes, and sometimes slower, and go into a whisper to create emotion. Will you trust me? Mm-hmm. If we're willing to do all those, now we've got a framework. And so now I literally could go through that, much like we did at Hoorah last year, and I could talk about that entire thing. I just did a quick overview in about 3 minutes. We could do that in 90 minutes. We could do that in half a day. And then what we do is we say, now, because we don't expect you to have mastered this third pillar, we're going to create, here comes a dirty word, Jared, scripts.
Hey guys, real quick, if you need a good marketing agency, I've got the perfect one for you, mammothforplumbers.com/wealthy. We've used Mammoth Marketing for the last 5 or 6 years in every single company, and they've always done a great job for us. They work with plumbers specifically. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're a great agency. If you guys are trying to get more work or you haven't marketed before, you want to grow your business, you've got to market your company. And one of the best ways to do this is to hire someone who's specifically good at marketing your very specific type of company. So go check them out at mammothforplumbers.com/wealthy. Tell them you came from the Wealthy Plumber or the Jared Williams Show, and they'll hook you up. Dadgummit.
Oh, those scripts, right? We're going to be in a straight jacket, and, you're going to have to tell me everything I have to say. The greatest sales trainer of all time, Zig Ziglar, was famous for saying many things, but one of the things that I love that he said is every word out of a salesperson's mouth should be scripted, yet never should one word sound as though it is. I like to say this, and I would wordsmith Zig's words from back in the 70s when he said salesperson to just say anyone with a responsibility to influence. The reason that scripts are so important is because now we have a framework and a template and something to refer back to when we walk out of a house with no deal and we go, oh, that was terrible. What would I have even said when they told me they had to talk to their wife? When they said they got to think on it, sleep on it, pray on it. They got to get 3 bids, or they wanted the Navion and we have the Renai, or we have the Renai and they wanted the Navion. When those things are happening, that'd be a brand objection. When those things are happening, that's where the scripts really become important. And so what I said is, I know that Rome wasn't built in a day. So what we're going to do to answer your question is, I'm going to give an overview of where we're headed, right? Begin with the end in mind. Here's the path. This is where we're going to finish. So here's where we're going to start. We're going to start with a 90-second script, a role play. And when we work to master that over the next 7 days, 90 seconds is all. Then we're all going to come in here and we're going to practice it. And we're going to see who's been working. We're going to see who has the good attitude, the bad attitude. We're going to see who brings the energy, the enthusiasm, the effort. And now we're going to start to separate. We're going to go, who are our C players that just didn't even pick up the book, didn't care to study, and won't even say anything out loud in the meeting? Who are our B players that are working really hard but struggling, but they're giving us the effort? I'll work with that person their entire career. Bring me the effort. And then the A players are the ones that maybe they already knew some of it, or they're just quick learners. Those are the ones you got to keep an eye out for becoming a prima donna, right? The ones that could become a cancer. I love B players. I despise C's, right? They're just the bad attitudes and they refuse to change. B's are the ones that might not be great, but they're willing to work to get there. A players have worked to get great. Now I want to make sure they work to stay there. And so now what I'm going to do every single week, Jared, I'm never going to surprise my team. And I think this is what most of us, trades included, but also in car sales, software sales, real estate, whatever it is. If you brought me in right now, Jared, and you said, Doug, here's a 90-second script, a role play. I'm going to share it with you. And then I want you to just flip the role and you do it. I'd be crawling out of my skin. I would not want to do it. But Jared, if you said, Doug, it's 90 seconds, it's scripted, we put it on audio for you so that you can hear how we do it. You can play it while you drive from call to call. You can play it on the way in, play it on the way home, play it in your shower, play it while you get ready. Play it while you trim up your beard, make it look intentional, put on your company hat and tuck in your company shirt. Play it then too. When you walk in here next Tuesday morning, we're all going to go around the room and we're going to role play just that 90 seconds. No surprises. We're not going to try to trick you. And then let's just say that we have 7 people in that room. Of the 7 people, we're probably going to have a couple of people that really nail it. A couple of people that are pretty rusty and a couple people that didn't even try. The next week, now that we know this is going to happen again, we add another 90-second role play. Now by week 2, you got 2 things to master, okay? This is what I did with that organization. The difference is we actually had 3 assignments because I do have a very high expectation and I am a trainer. So we would do a mindset assignment. So what are we thinking, right? We would do a process assignment from a call ahead or door knock, however we start our call at our company, all the way to the end where we ask for the order. And then that's where I believe the magic truly begins, or that's where the rubber meets the road. When we ask for the order and we share the investment, the price, that's where the homeowner might say, okay, Jared, I like you. I like your company. You guys seem like you do good work. I tell you what, let me think about it. I'll call you next week. This is where the rubber meets the road. If we've been working towards mastery in our role play sessions and we don't know how to handle what I just said, we're never going to have the success that we could have. We'll never have the legacy that we could have. I'm not saying that we can't be successful. There's a lot of people probably watching this that have never done that, and they've run a multi-million-dollar business.
Is it true that the best way to avoid the objection is to never get it?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
But you're still going to get them,
Well,
obviously, right?
The best way to avoid the objection, parlaying on what you just shared, is going to require us to be incredibly good at how we effectively communicate the value and what we're doing to diagnose the system properly, how we're going to fix it, repair it, or install something new, the repair versus replace. So yes, of course, if we can avoid the objection or them having concerns altogether, sure. The likelihood of us doing that, every call being perfect and homeowners never saying, okay, sounds good, let me think about it. I mean, listen, I believe that when we mentioned this right at the top of this podcast, homeowners, I believe, have a fiduciary responsibility. Wanting the most for the least is a given. Price is a concern. How well do we present our services? And how well do we present our warranties so that it's on a scale, right? One hand is, this is trust. Trust is building as we share our value, and the more effective we become at communicating these things, trust is going up. As trust is going up, risk is coming down.
Yep.
If I'm not sharing this, let's just say I am the best plumber known to mankind to ever walk the face of the earth, but I just go in and do the work. I made it almost look too easy. Now people are complaining that I was only in their home 15 minutes and charged them $800.
Yep.
I've got to have an effective communication strategy to build the value, and then risk is coming down when they're like, this guy seems like he really knows what he's doing. I like him. He looks the part, acts the part, smells the part. He did the job right. He seemed very effective. That's trust. Risk is coming down. Risk is going up. If we don't communicate this, we're in and out, even if we fix it properly. So I like to say sales is three things: a transference of a positive emotion. What are they feeling? What are they thinking? And then we have to earn trust. And by doing that, we lower risk. If we're not earning trust, risk is going up. And guess what, Jared? People are inherently afraid of us as contractors.
Yeah.
They're scared.
If you come to my house and you earn my trust, I don't care what the price is.
There you go.
I trust that it is what it is. However, if you come to my house and you don't earn my trust, I'm like, this guy's trying to rip me off, or he's going to do a bad job. One of the two.
Right.
And I just don't trust it at all.
And this is where I say that the market is divided into thirds. There's a third that'll go cheap pretty much no matter what. There's a third that will buy on value. You could be the value shopper. There's also a third that could go either way. But either way, that last 2/3 that I want to build my business on and that you're building your business on, we want to build the value, be the best at what we do, charge fair prices, and get more of the marketplace to trust us, but not be the cheapest, right? We can have a more economical solution. We can have a premium option, a middle option, a more economical solution. We can do that in just about everything we do. But when we get down to the end, no matter how well we did in our process, Jared, I feel like homeowners are going to test us just to try to get us at a cheaper price. And so what I would surmise is there have been millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars lost on on-demand service calls because the homeowner said, well, okay, it seems a little more than I wanted to pay. And then we almost as a knee-jerk reaction go, okay, well, if I did it for 10% off, and so let's just say it's $1,000. And they go, yep. Well, if you could do it for, $900, then you got yourself a deal. And we walk out of there with a $900 ticket and we think we did a good job. And we may, in fact, trick ourselves to believe that homeowner wouldn't have bought at $1,000 because they were complaining about price. Yeah. What I have proven over and over and over again in the last 20 years I've been in the trades is that with the right effective communication from the time we run the call all the way through, when that comes up at the end, if we handle that in a certain way without being high pressure, we can walk out of there with $1,000.
I don't think people understand how detrimental that is to their company. They just give away half their profit.
Jared, the national average is 2 to 3%. You're giving away half of yours. Most people are giving away that and then some.
Yes.
The national average in an HVAC and plumbing company in North America is 2.5 to 3.5% net.
Yeah.
If they give away 10% and they wonder why they're struggling and why they don't have enough money to pay the bills or buy the new van or hire the new guy or buy the new software, that's why.
And then they just train their guys to say, I can only sell if I give a discount. So
Right.
let's do it every time.
And they buy into that. So how do we have to work our way out of this? We're not going to build Rome in a day, but over the course of 26 to 52 weeks, we can master all of these things. Jared, you nailed it. Imagine this. Let's just say that somebody does $1 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are going to do that in a week. Some of us do it in a month. Some of us do it in a year. Some of us will do it in 3 years.
Yep.
But let's just take that million, and now we're talking about that 10% discount. If I go out and perform $1 million worth of work, again, it doesn't matter what the time frame is, but $1 million worth of work, and I haven't mastered this third pillar, effective communication, influence, getting people to choose us despite us being a little bit more, and I drop 10%, how much work did I do? $1 million. But how much revenue did I collect if I gave 10% off?
You did $1 million worth of work, but you only collected 90%. Is
Yeah.
that what we're saying? Yeah, you only collected 900,000.
So I gave away $100,000, but
Yep.
I gave it away a service call at a time. I gave it away on a $500 ticket, giving them $50 off and walking out with $450
Yep.
and feeling like, okay, well, I got the deal. It's $1,000 less 10%. It's $900. It doesn't seem like a lot. It's not going to kill us that day because we closed the sale, right? We did the work, business, we're feeding the machine. Imagine this, Jared. Imagine that every single week we just schedule a meeting where we work on some of this third pillar, the effective communication strategy, and we learn how to handle these concerns when they come up. Even if they're fudging a little bit just to go, oh, it seems like a lot. Let me think about it. And they would have bought if we had built the right amount of value in the first place and now knew how to handle these things without being pushy. If we just held on to that last 10%, we don't do any more work, we don't do any more marketing, we don't answer any more phone calls, we don't go to any more calls, we don't burn any more gas, we don't burn any more tread on our tires, you get the picture, and we don't discount and we do the same $1 million of work, how much revenue do we have now?
Get $1 million.
$1 million. That means I have to ask, how much is it worth to have a system that's proven in the trades to do a 90-minute meeting once a week where you just assign it a week ahead and say, for 90 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, next Tuesday morning, we're all role-playing this to perfection. We're working towards mastery. I expect effort, energy, enthusiasm. Now, Jared, let's get really serious about this. What if we now became so effective at our communication strategy? No lying, no cheating, no stealing, treating people like our own family, doing all these things that have been proven by science over the past 2,000 years. What if we raised our prices 10%? Now we do the same $1 million worth of work. We raise our prices 10%, and now we have the effective communication to still not discount, and we hold on to that 100. Now we do the $1 million. We raise our prices 10%. How much revenue do we have now?
Depends on how you're thinking about it.
Just easy math, so we don't confuse it.
$1.1 million.
$1.1 million. So I ask business owners all the time, Jared, do you really want to put $200,000 in your pocket? What if you could do it with no additional marketing, no new website, no more SEO, no more Google LSA, not in addition, no more trucks, no more people, no more uniforms, no more tablets, no more software licenses. Nothing except the work that you just did over whatever amount of time it took. Most of us are getting $900,000 on $1 million worth of work. Some of us are discounting 20%. We're getting $800,000, still doing $1 million worth of work. You could raise prices focused on this third pillar and walk out of that same amount of work with 1.1 million, 200,000 going directly to the bottom line. You could say, okay, well, I have to invest in some training and now I have to pay the guys for the meeting. Okay, I can promise you this. Doing a 90-minute meeting where your team's working towards mastery, it is not going to cost you $100,000, let alone $200,000. And you know what it's going to do? Jared, when you talked, I just got goosebumps. When you shared that you went to $2,900 average tickets, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about doing the same $1 million worth of work without any additional marketing. Now we're doing more work in the homes we're already in, and we're not lying to anybody or selling them something they don't need. We have worked on that third pillar that eludes most of us in the trades. This is why I get excited. This is why my energy level does spike, because it doesn't require a lot of these other things that we've been conditioned to believe we need to do to grow our business. It simply means that we need to do some things that we haven't been doing, and that's work on what comes out of here and what goes in here, what we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're working on with our team.
Yep.
There is never a time, I don't believe, Jared, that we're going to be in these trades where homeowners don't consistently tell us, I like you, I like your company, seems like you guys do good work. Let me think about it. Let me sleep on it. There's never going to come a time where they don't go, I've never done this before. Let me call around and get a couple of guys in here, and I like you, just let me get a second or third opinion. There's never going to come a time, Jared, where people don't go, I like you, but my spouse isn't here right now. So let me talk to them when they get home, and I'll call you next week. There's never going to come a time where people don't go, what's that called? I mean, that doesn't match the logo that I currently have out there. I was kind of thinking about this brand. People get brand sensitive, right? And you may think they don't. And it's not as common with cars, as it is with cars. Like you're either, where I'm from, you're either a Chevy family or a Ford family. There's no in between, right? Very brand conscious in that marketplace, right? Brand is the least of my concerns if we go in and we run an effective sales communication process, and we're sharing our value all along the way and influencing people that we care about them and our work, and that we work hard to be the best. We stand behind our work. Brand is kind of a distant fourth objection, but the 4 objections are bids, brands, stalls, and price. And there's 2 types of stalls. I think I mentioned this the first time we were together here in studio. There's unavailable and available. Unavailable means that whoever they're saying they need to talk to, or the reason they can't make a decision, is not present.
Right.
It could be the spouse, most likely, but it's also the neighbor. It's the handyman. It's the banker. They need to check on their finances. It's the coworker that's much more handy. It's my father. It's my son.
I always use the finances.
You do? So you're the guy that says, let me check my budget. It's a little more than I wanted to spend.
Got to put it in my spreadsheet.
And here, guys, listen to this for everybody watching. Jared, let's get into your mind. Let's crack that skull open. Let's get in there. You said I always use it, and you smiled. Hopefully when we go back and Mason edits this.
Here's the reality is that 9 times out of 10, I really actually do got to go put it in my budget.
Okay.
And see if it works.
Right.
And I'm like, anyway.
But if the value's there and you know you need to get the work done.
If you're a guy coming to work on my home and it's something that I need and I know I need it, regardless, and you seem legit, I'm just going to say, yeah, go do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
But Jared, don't you think, just so that you don't have buyer's remorse, your fiduciary responsibility is to give me a little bit of pushback. See if I really believe in that price. If I will do the job for $450 instead of $500, don't you kind of feel like, yeah, I mean, it's a contractor.
So my good friend Ellen Rohr always says,
oh yeah,
ask for a discount
Ellen's
on everything. And I've been doing that. So like, I just did this on a sales call the other day. I signed up for this thing. They wanted to get on a 3-month contract, and I said, I'll do it, but no contract. And they're like, okay.
Right.
I'm like, sweet.
I don't know if this is still the case. Did you know that you can ask for a discount at Target?
Can you?
Next time, go to Target and listen, it is completely discretionary upon the person at the register of whether or not to give it to you. If you walk up there and you just give them a little bit of a sob story, man, things are really tight. Is there anything that you guys could do? Help me out. They have.
Is that where you got your jacket?
Yes, it is. Now, I don't even know if they sell sport coats there. But what I would say is Ellen Rohr, brilliant woman. You and I both have known her for a long time.
Yep.
Ask for a discount. And you know what? Other people are hearing this too. Ask for a discount. And with contractors, it's common knowledge that contractors will give a discount.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times people are just doing their fiduciary responsibility so that they don't wake up in the middle of the night and have buyer's remorse. And so they're just asking. And a lot of times if we would just come back and say, you know, Jared, I wish I could. And it sounds like you were hoping that this would be a little bit less. You know, most of our customers have shared with us once they realize the kind of work that we do, the way we stand behind our work, the way we serve our local community, that our company is in fact worth a little bit more than these other guys that don't do the jobs like we do or stand behind them. Jared, if I could offer you a discount, I definitely would. But we do believe we are fairly priced here in the marketplace. I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and get started on the paperwork? let me get this job done to absolute perfection. And if everything I've shared with you here today doesn't happen exactly as I've promised that it will, we'll do whatever it takes to make things right. Fair enough?
I got to check my budget.
And I'm going to put my tablet out there. Yeah. Let's role play it. So, and then by the way, in the 7 foundations we were talking about again, right there, I did a little bit of wordsmithing. It's going to take a certain mindset. I'm also in foundation 1, the ground rules. I'm not lying to you about anything. I'm not trying to sell you something you don't need. Yep. I did some rare listening, right? I repeated a few things that you said. And then I went into a little bit of I'm displacing the conflict that most of us feel by saying, most of our customers in similar situations have found this. So now I'm talking about others. I'm becoming the authority, remaining likable. I'm not saying, well, do you have a problem with me, Jared? Do you have a problem with my company?
Yep.
You got a problem with the work? Like, those are fighting words.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't tell a woman. This is part of the Wordsmith program. So it sounds like you have issues. You have issues with me, with our price. You say that to a woman, Jared, and she's like, don't you tell me I got issues. And a man, if you say to a man over and over again, you got a problem? You got a problem with my work? It's like, get the hell out of my house. That's why we hate salespeople, Jared. And I hate salespeople that act like that. We don't have to behave like that. So if then you said you got to check your budget, I probably would have already, when I went through my options before I asked for the order, I would have said, we have this option. How do you feel about that one, Jared? That one solves this, this, and this. How do you feel there? We have this option. We have that option. I work from my premium to my middle to my end. You can do anywhere from 3 options. Some people train 3. Some people say 5. I think it depends on the repair. It depends on the product, the service, whatever it is you're recommending, and how much time you have. Jared, if they get down to the budget thing, now we're just going to keep that conversation going. If you want, before we wrap up the podcast today, we can just do a full role play and share, like, what would happen if first the homeowner said, oh, I got to think about it. And then they said, oh, well, I got to check my budget. And then they said, well, I got to talk to my spouse. It's never going to be guaranteed to work 100% of the time. What I can promise is if you work this process 100% of the time, you will close 60 to 70% of the value-based shopper, and the one that could go either way, you'll close 60 to 70% of them, and it'll be the great customers that are actually signing up with you because they appreciate what you bring to the table instead of just going cheap. Listen, there is a segment of the marketplace, to put this into dollars and cents. I do not believe if we walk in and we're at $600 an hour and we walk in on what they would consider a leaky toilet and it's a flapper or a partial toilet rebuild in our terms, and we go in there and we fix that, and we're in there 15 minutes and we give them a bill for $600, I believe there's a segment of the population that will not consistently pay us that. They will go, whoa. They might even give us a 1-star review. They're out there.
Agreed.
But they're going to get bids. They're going to tell us they got to check their budget, and they are not going to buy from us. I also believe there's a segment of the population, if we've delivered the value upon arrival throughout our process, we've served them incredibly well, we presented ourselves well, the way we look, act, smell, dress, think, talk, and then we get down to the end, we present in a certain way our options. They feel like they're in control and not being hard sold, hard closed. We get down to the end, and they say those things. I believe we can still walk out without dropping our price 60, 70% of the time. I never want a close rate. Now, I will say, let me back up. I'm talking about new sales. If we're talking about on-demand service, I would want closer to somewhere in like the 80 to 90% close rate, maybe even higher. The lower my price, the higher my close rate should be. The more premium I am in the marketplace.
What do you consider, well, how do you differentiate those in your mind? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so let's talk about terms, because I live in Colorado right now. I grew up in Missouri. You're down here in Florida. You grew a business in Alaska. So if you're listening to us in a different country, I know that the Wealthy Plumbers in many different countries, right? Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all those places. It's going to be dependent upon what are we defining that as. For me in the trades, an on-demand repair is somebody called me because they have a challenge that they want fixed today, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have hot water. They have a leak. There's something going on. They're smelling gas. Whatever those things are, the toilet won't stop running, the toilet's clogged, the drain won't drain. Those are what I consider on-demand repair. In the HVAC world, it's a no heat, it's a no cool. We very quickly transition into what we would consider a repair versus replace, right? Yep. Water heaters are one where it just doesn't make that much sense to repair, like slap a thermocouple on a 17-year-old water heater. I think we can probably all agree with that. Am I assuming that right with you as a master plumber?
I'll leave it up to the customer.
Okay.
but I'm going to educate them on like, hey, this thing's 17 years
Right.
old.
You can talk about sediment. I would be showing them pictures of what like
Yeah.
a 17-year-old water heater when cut open, what it's going to look like.
Yep.
I'm going to ask them some questions and say, how long have you lived in the home? They're like, oh, we've been here 10 years. Do you feel like the hot water runs out sooner?
I can agree it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. But if they want me to repair the thermocouple, I will.
And you're probably going to have some paperwork that has them sign off on the fact that, hey, this water heater could go anytime.
Yep.
Especially you're going to take pictures, document, you're going to put it in the notes, you're going to show them there's rust on the bottom or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
All those things. Okay. Other than a water heater, because most of the time we're doing change outs when they get to be that old, there's a lot of different things that we could do a repair or we could have a replacement conversation. For me, that's where it now goes, okay, am I doing a like-for-like replacement? If I'm replacing a 50-gallon water heater with a 50, am I going up to a 75? Am I going to a tankless?
Yep.
My close rate is going to be lower the more of a replacement option that I offer. Does that make sense?
Yep.
If I can repair something, my close rate should be very high, right?
Yep.
It's like if I come in there on a drain, I'm probably going to close 95% of those unless I'm just priced astronomically where I am the most premium in the marketplace and I'm 1,000 more than the next closest guy. That's probably going to invite in people saying, I got to think about it, check with my banker, check my budget, get some bids, call around. But if I'm in the range, even if I'm in the higher range, I think our close rate on an on-demand repair where something needs to be fixed and they wanted it, expected it to be fixed that day, close rates are going to be higher. When I talk about the 60 to 70% topping out on my close rate, I'm talking about what I found. Somebody says, hey, I'd like you to come out and give me an estimate on a new water softener, a new water filtration. Somebody calls my organization and says, hey, we're just getting bids right now. Do you guys do free estimates on a new furnace and air conditioner? Absolutely. We send somebody out. I think I can drive my close rate to somewhere around 60 to 70%, being premium priced or close to it in the marketplace and not discounting if we're really, really good. If we're somewhere around the range of premium in the marketplace and we're talking about new equipment installs, doesn't matter if it's HVAC or plumbing or a new electrical panel, if I'm premium priced, my close rate is going to be lower, right?
Yep.
And now we have this inverse relationship. Let's say that the average water filtration and water softener in your marketplace, if you called and got bids from 100 different people, let's say that, what would you say they range? Any idea what they would range for in your market?
I have no idea.
Okay. Let's just say that it's $9,000 since we did a $9,000 tankless earlier. Let's say that you are $11,000.
Yep.
And the average is 9. Is our close rate going to be lower no matter how good we are? Of course.
Yep.
We're the premium in the marketplace. But if we're $7,000 and they could call around and learn that the average in the marketplace is 9,000, same process. Should our close rate be higher? Absolutely. Because now not only are we delivering all the value and all the effective communication strategy in the way we arrive, show up, communicate, the way we look and present, the way we run our entire process, we're also now on the lower end of the pricing in the marketplace. Now my close rate, even on replacement install stuff, I can now drive that to like 75, 80%. Mm-hmm. In fact, I would venture to guess if I really wanted 100% close rate, all I have to do is continually lowering my price until people buy.
Yep.
I don't want 100% close rate because I can't make money as we kind of crest that point of no return, right? We have to know our numbers and our profitability, which is why I love your Wealthy Plumber program. You're teaching things that many contractors had never processed before, didn't really understand when they came from the plumbing or the technician side. So I would like to venture to guess that, let's say on the same example, on this water filtration water softener, if the average is 9, if I was at 11, my close rate's going to be lower. If my price is 7 and the average is 9, my close rate's going to be higher. But even if I was at 80% close rate, the question becomes, could I have 100%? I think there's a pretty good odd that I could. If the guy said, I have 10 bids and you're right in the middle, and I just said, I'll price match. And, well, I don't know. I don't want to show you the bids. You know, the guy's just working me. And I'd be like, well, Jared, if I was the same as the bids that you're looking at as the lowest, and we were the same, who would you go with? He's always going to say, oh, I'd go with you. I'd say, so you do find some value in going with us. You're just not sure if we're worth $2,000 more. Yeah, I'm just not sure. But if I was willing to price match, And some other guy's doing them for $4,000. And I said, I'll do them for 4,000. Now I'm going to be at like a 99% close rate. And if I said, I'll beat it by $100, I'll do it for 3,900. Why, if I bring all this value, all these 5-star reviews, all of this professionalism, all of this value, why would he not go with me at 3,900 if his lowest bid was 4,000?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying do that. You'll drive yourself in the poorhouse.
The only reason would be if he wasn't going to go with anybody.
If he just wasn't going to do the work at all.
Yeah.
Right. I would walk from the job if I don't have a certain margin on there because it's a slippery slope. Sooner or later, somebody's not getting paid. You know, I've lived that life where it's like, okay, you know, we're making these amends and all of a sudden the supply house isn't getting paid or the business owner doesn't have any money to take out of the business. I'm going to set my pricing strategy where I go, this is where I want to be. I'm not going to discount. And now how are we going to do that? We're going to focus on that third pillar, working on effective communication, mindset, sales training. I hate that word, but becoming better influencers without cheating anyone. So on-demand repair, close rates should be higher because they have some type of what could be considered an emergency, something that needs to be done. Replacement sales, where you said maybe he's not doing anything, the water is still hot, it's just running out sooner. The heating and air conditioning still works, just not as effective as he wants it to be. Still hot and cold spots, energy bills are high. That person doesn't have to replace. They could just wait it out. They could go, oh, it's still working, I'll go next year. So that's why I say you're not gonna have 100% close rate. I want to price myself so that I can be profitable.
Have you ever ran, like if we went one tier higher in that, we're thinking about the funnel, right? You've got, they're like, I need this done now. They're, I maybe need this done, or it's a replacement. I can either repair or replace. I got to do one or the other. What about running like, I'm just curious, thinking about if I were to run like an advertisement on, hey, get your water heater replaced before it needs to be replaced. And I get customers coming in a little bit higher up in the funnel. What do you think about your close rates on that?
It's going to be a little bit lower, but it's also going to depend on how good we are. I think you're trying to get me in trouble a little bit here on film. Just teasing a little bit.
I would never do that.
Listen, one of the 7 principles of persuasion, Robert Cialdini talks about this in that book I mentioned earlier, Influence, is scarcity, right? We can do different things to create scarcity. One of the things when I hear you just give me that example, I think, okay, we run this ad. How are we going to get people to do this? Well, now they have to have an incentive, right? Why are they going to replace something before it goes bad? And now you're also, the reason I said you're going to get me a little trouble here. This is going to come down to not manipulating anybody. I'm not talking about using scare tactics. That's what we hate about sales trainers and sales training. And so I'm kind of joking around with you here, Jared. Scarcity is one of the 7 major influencers. People want what they can't have. When we went through COVID, there was a lot of scarcity in supply chain. That's a legitimate thing to have a conversation with about a homeowner. I'd strongly recommend that you script it. I'd strongly recommend that you role play it, because if you have a technician in the field shortcutting your process or hasn't really practiced it, it's very quick to cross the line in the homeowner's mind that this guy's just using scare tactics. It's like, these deals won't last long, and none of us like that, right? So we've got to create some scarcity, and that's why Black Fridays, that's why July 4th, Memorial Day, that's why those sales work, because we know these deals won't last long. It does work, but for those of us in the contracting world, you are playing with fire when you start saying things like that to a homeowner. I don't recommend it. I don't teach it. But there are ways that we can increase the amount of scarcity in our supply chain. But I'm only talking about saying if it's true. But we're going to have to be very careful to wordsmith those things. We're going to have to practice them. My close rate is going to be lower if I'm putting somebody higher in the funnel, as you say. Now you're marketing to people who don't have on-demand type emergencies. And so now what are we doing? And this is where price is a given. People want the most for the least. If they feel like they can get a deal, so I'm not opposed to offering a, quote, discount in our marketing. What I would say is don't lie about it. I hate to throw Target out there again, but this past year, they got busted with people that were going in and filming the red tag sales around the Black Friday specials, and they were literally pulling them, and some lazy employees hadn't removed the old numbers. So literally it looked like, 50% off, and it's in red, and they pull it and it's the same price. It wasn't a discount. They were just using the discount and scarcity. That's manipulation. That's why people hate corporations and they hate salespeople, because they're teaching tactics like that. We don't teach that stuff here. So I'm not saying that I wouldn't run like a loss leader program, right? When I had my company in Colorado Springs, we used to do a lot of direct mail. There was 140,000 single family residences in El Paso County. We dropped 20,000 direct mail pieces a week. That means every 7 weeks we do 140,000 mail pieces. We ran, and many contractors hate this, free furnace campaigns. The
free furnace campaigns.
Free furnace campaigns. Okay. So this is essentially what you're talking about.
Tell me more.
All right. So
run a free water heater campaign.
Run a free water heater. The challenge is your water heater is not in tandem with something else that needs to make it run. So a free furnace campaign is invest in our premium air conditioner and you'll get a free furnace. All right. Now, first of all, we have to make sure that those pieces of equipment can match up, and whatever you promote, you have to actually be able to do. It's then a much more difficult job of the CSR to schedule that kind of call when people call up and they go, I want my free furnace, because they scanned your little 6x9 postcard. Most people aren't that bad, but they do know there's a little bit of what is this really, right? So they call up, we put some of that fine print on there. And so we have to train our CSRs very well so that we're not burning that good marketing spend, because now they don't have to handle those calls. So we had to do ongoing training with our CSRs. Then we dispatch a comfort advisor, or what we would consider a selling technician, somebody who's been well-versed in all of our sales training, our communication style training, and all that. Then we sit down, we do a full evaluation of the home, just like we would on anything else. A manual J, we sit down, we talk through everything about our company, we explain the technology, we get down to the end, and then a lot of times the homeowner's like, okay, where's my free furnace? How does this work? We would put out our pricing strategy, our price cards, and we would say, here's the free furnace. The free furnace was going to be a basic 80% efficient single stage furnace. It's bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
It's the cheapest, right? It's the least effective in the home. It's going to use the most energy, the most gas. It's going to use the most electricity when the blower runs. They have a much more efficient system. Because we went in there and put on a 90-minute presentation of why do you have hot and cold spots? Why is your upstairs primary suite cooking while your downstairs is freezing, right? So we would talk about how we can solve those challenges. And then we would say the free furnace is an 80% single stage furnace. That is not the one that's going to solve the challenges that you've shared with us that you'd like to solve. And so it's not that they wouldn't get the free furnace. Now we can take that free furnace, apply what they would have saved on that, and put it towards a high efficiency system, maybe even a dual fuel hybrid system. People would call those like a heat pump or a hybrid. And then we can mix that with variable speed technology, modulating blower, modulating gas valve, save them money on their utilities, make their home as perfectly tempered as it ever could be, add indoor air quality, UV bulbs. Now we're addressing dust particles. We're addressing dust mites. We're addressing chemicals in the air. We're talking about things that are coming out of the carpets. We are sharing every challenge that we can possibly solve. And I will say this, Jared, when you have a professional team that goes in there and does that, our close rates were nearly as high as on any other leads, and they would end up going with premium options. Why? Because they wanted challenges solved, and as long as they felt like they still weren't completely missing out on the free furnace, and we could credit some of that to this high efficiency system with all the bells and whistles, the indoor air quality, the tankless water heater, and all that entire package. Now we've got somebody financing a system for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, add a couple of ductless mini splits room by room to really perfect the comfort in a home. You're walking out with a $45,000 job, and they called about a free furnace.
Yep.
And we never lied to them about a single thing. Main thing is we've got to be willing at the end of that call, if the guy just says, I want my free furnace. And it's like, okay, as you can see here, right here, we'd have the 6x9 card. He'd have it right there, what he called on, or she, and we'd say right here, it says, with the investment in this type of air conditioner. And we would say, so John, if this is what you want, knowing what you know, I just have to have you sign off on the fact that you know your upstairs primary suite still going to have the stratification, the hot and cold spots. Your downstairs theater room still going to be just as freezing cold. We're not mixing up any of the air in your home. And if you do run that blower on that furnace 24 hours a day, your utility bill is going to go through the roof. And so we'd have to have them sign off on that. But that's where you can get aggressive on some of our marketing and say, hey, put them higher in the funnel. It's not like their furnace or air conditioning wasn't working. Sure, some of those people called too. It just happened to end up in their mailbox. By the way, since we're talking about postcards, Jared, I will just say, I ask people this question all the time. If you were going to do 140,000 mailers like we were doing, would you rather do 140,000 one time, or would you rather hit, say, the same 10,000 residences 14 times? I'm going to say I would rather hit the same 10,000 residences 14 times. Yep. You start to break through the clutter in their mind. They start to feel like they see you everywhere. So when it comes to anyone's marketing spend, just what I've learned over 20 years is hit people more often. Frequency is going to outperform the blanket. We trick ourselves into saying, I just want to cast a wider net.
I think with frequency,
it doesn't work.
You don't have to have as good of an offer because they learn to know, like, and trust you. If you want a blanket, then you got to run some crazy offer like a free furnace or something like that.
And we were always running, different offers, but every 7 weeks or so at 20,000 marketing pieces a week, we were in homes. I'll also share some information that you don't have anybody sponsoring the show that does direct mail, do you?
No.
Okay. I caution everybody, if a direct mail person comes in and tells you they're going to get you 3 to 5%, be wary. I have been able
to get you 3 to 5%. What does that
return?
Mean?
Like you're going to get 3 to 5% response rate. So if you drop 10,000 direct mail pieces, the direct mail companies, the Valpaks and all those companies, most of them are going to try to get you to believe 3 to 5%, right? So what's 5% of 10,000? You're good with numbers.
500.
So they think you're going to get 500 calls. Are you kidding me? You ain't getting 500 calls on 10,000 pieces. When we did 20,000 pieces, my response rate that I was targeting, this is going to blow some people away. I'll show you how the math works in a minute, was 1/10 of 1%.
1/10 of 1%. Perfect.
Yeah, I always go, people go, oh, you're going to get 1%. Yeah, what's 1% of 20,000? Well, 10% is 2,000, right? 2% would be what? I don't know. Here's what I can tell you. I might have to get
a dumb plumber, dude.
No, you're not. You are anything but a dumb plumber.
Come on, I need a spreadsheet. Or
here's what I can tell you. If I'm doing those to get sales leads on replacement systems, now I can get a small number of leads. Let's say I generate 20 leads on 20,000 direct mail pieces. If I close 50% of those,
it's 10 of them.
It's 10 of them.
Yep.
And if I have a $10,000 average ticket, is what? 10 times 10? It's $100,000 in revenue.
Well, yes. Okay.
Because I got 20 leads off of 20,000 mailers.
Yep.
I only closed 50% of the 20 leads that we ran.
Yeah.
Now on those 10 leads, let's just say I had an average ticket of 10 grand on full replacement furnace and AC systems, right? So you can do this math too on, don't do it on toilet, right? The number's too small to do this, but you could do it on water filtration. You could do it on water softeners. You could do it on takeless. If we get up there in that range of like the $7,000 to $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 tickets, you can run this and you can grow your business. It just takes a little money to get started, but you got to make sure that people are answering those phones and meticulous in what we're doing, using the 7 foundations that we've created or something similar with passion, with word choice. And then here's the math on that. If I close 10 jobs at a $10,000 average ticket, it's $100,000. If then I turn around and go, what's my marketing spend? Now I can work that backwards and say, okay, on $100,000, if I spend 8%, I can spend $8,000. If I want to be about as aggressive as we get in the industry, at least that what I would recommend for most people, 15% is incredibly high. I think I saw you doing something the other day, which I am very impressed by with you. I think I saw your marketing spend at Wahoo is approaching 20%.
It's probably worse than that
on one of your shows. I don't know if it's worse. It just means that you're in this to gobble up market share. If you can afford it, Jared, I say go for it.
Like for me, we have to, because when we reach this economy of scale at like 4 guys. Once they're busy, we can be profitable. Before that, we're not profitable.
Right.
And so I'm like, let's get there as fast as we can.
The dumb plumber talking about economies of scale.
Yeah. Wow.
You're anything but, Jared. You know your numbers more than just about anybody in the entire industry in the world.
Maybe.
You're very humble, but I will say this. I mean, I've watched you and your stuff is brilliant. If you wanted to have that whole thing play out and you're wondering, how do I make my phone ring? Direct mail will work. Stop believing it's going to work at 2 to 5% response rates.
Right.
Get down to the 0.5%. You start doing something that gets you 1/10 or 0.5%. Now you're talking about something that can be scaled, and you can go, okay, if I could schedule the calls properly, run those calls, have a 50% close rate based on my response rate, now I can go out and go, okay, if I can generate $100,000, I can have an 8% marketing budget. You can do that forever. And as you grow, you can go, okay, now I'm going to put 10,000 in, and I'm going to do more mailers, and I'm going to hit people every 4 weeks instead of every 8. It will work.
Just becomes a capacity to handle the volume.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And if we are properly priced, meaning a little more on the premium side, in my estimation, now we have more money that can trickle down, not so that we as business owners can buy yachts. That is not what it's for. It's so that we can go pick up 3 new Dodge vans on the same day at the Dodge dealership, send them out to be wrapped all at the same time, send them to Mastercraft for the shelving, put $40,000 worth of inventory across the 3 of them, right? $12,15 on each of them, and then hire 3 guys at a time, train them all at the same time, increase the marketing, and now we got 3 more vans on the road. We could do it 1 at a time. We could do it 3 at a time. The only way we can scale, we got to have money trickling down to the bottom line. Then we can go buy our yacht. What's that?
Then we can go buy our yacht.
Yeah. Maybe someday. or listen, man, the trades are hard. I think a lot of us have been duped into believing, because we've seen these stories about the $100 million exits, that that's possible for everybody. The fact of the matter is, you can go out there and run a great business, put a couple of vans on the road, and make yourself a few $100,000 and be your own boss. It's not going to be easy. It's also not easy working for somebody else.
It's also not that hard. I mean, to be honest with you, like
there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there if you know what you're doing.
$100, if you just learn a little bit of information and you go and implement it, even making $1 million isn't that hard.
It's not. And if you work on your communication skills in addition to the technical and the admin, you can make yourself another $100,000 next year on the same amount of work, or $200,000 in our example before.
So I wasn't going to share the title of this podcast, but it's going to be "This Guy Made Me $850K in 12 months. Here's how." Because I love that story. Title. Well, we stole that from your website, by the way. But we did a few changes, but you were one of the changes that we brought in, started doing your training, and just changing our guys' mindsets around what we do in the home. We were probably terrible at implementing your training, I'll be totally honest. But the little bit of mindset shift in our guys to go like, oh, it actually is a good service to go offer the customer more, and then go in and start selling bigger tickets. We didn't add any more guys. We actually had 1 less guy, and we added $850K to our that went down to our bottom net profit. We went up, I think, like 1.2 million for the year with 1 less guy.
So you did 1.2 million more in revenue with 1 less guy.
Yep.
And you only, and I literally, this is the second time I've said this. I get goosebumps. You gave me goosebumps, Jared, when you said we implemented just a portion, like a fraction.
A fraction. Like, I don't even think our guys necessarily went through all of your training. Eddie Barkhurst went through your training for the most part, and then started regurgitating it to our guys, and it had that effect on it.
This is why I say, and thank you for that testimonial, Jared. It's been incredible having you as part of the Synergy family, and also being part of the Wealthy Plumber family. Jared, what you just shared, I can't be more happy. It makes me emotional to think that you implemented a fraction of what's in the program.
Yep.
And it had that type of massive results for you. And listen, this was at your company in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yes. And I will say some of that is operations behind the scenes and making sure stuff happens, but it was a big part of it for sure.
I mean, listen, when I talk about these 3 pillars, it's almost like the 3rd pillar is just, it's shunned. We don't want it. We look the other way. Jared, I haven't done a lot of marketing, but I have gone to some trade shows, and I dress like this to my own detriment.
Probably.
It is what it is.
I'll come to your next trade show, and
Jared,
you'll get so many more people.
People avoid me and our team like the plague. The only time we had a great trade show is when my gal Emily, love of my life, she came to one and stood in the booth. She's gorgeous. And we were busier at that trade show. It's all HVAC, plumbing, electrical guys. Every trade show where me, Bryce Thomas, our director of product development, he's incredible. We're not intimidated. I mean, we look soft, right? I mean, we look soft. We're in sport coats and nice shirts and nice jeans. People look the other way. People like they literally like head down, look away, act like they didn't see us. If we try to say good morning, it is literally like, don't talk to them. They look like they're in sales. They're salespeople.
Yep.
And so I'm not surprised that viewership is down on these when I wear a sport coat, and we can tease about it. And you give me such crap. You just did it the other day on a Facebook post. You do it in the Wealthy Plumber all the time. I appreciate it. I think right now, we're scheduled right after this. We're going to get you fitted for 6 sport coats.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Totally. Next episode will be in a sport coat.
You even shared with me you didn't wear a jacket at your own wedding or your child's wedding.
No.
It's pretty impressive. I don't know how you got away with that, but here's the thing, Jared. You implemented a fraction, and you had a lot of money going to the bottom line. You ended up exiting that company. I look at that and I go, the people that implement a little bit do incredibly well.
Yep.
The people that implement half of what we share, they're making bank. And the people that really do what we share, they're just completely transforming their life and their business forever. It's not going to be easy, right? I don't want to sit up here and say, oh, it's so easy. Just push play on some videos and print a few assignments. And
that ain't going to cut it. Nope.
It's not going to cut it.
Right.
We are up against what you outlined earlier. Our industry in the trades, it does not lend itself to this kind of training. So much so that people walk the other way when they see my booth at a trade show.
Yep. They
will click off of this podcast. They'll click on it. They'll see a guy, you introduce me, and they go find something else to do. It's unfortunate, right? And I don't take offense to it because most of the sales training I see, I despise. I see people being taught things that are raising resistance. It's increasing conflict. It's cringeworthy. And it has technicians running for the hills saying, I'd rather just go into a different line of work. If you're going to make me do that, if I have to say that kind of stuff to homeowners, I'll go work somewhere else, or I'll just retire, or I'll just retire and be a hermit and go fishing the rest of my life. And,
Amen.
Hey, one day I hope to be able to work myself into a place that we can do that. I'm not there yet. I got a lot of stuff that I want to accomplish. And I think one of the things that I want to do, one of the things I want to do is increase the level of professionalism in the influence training that's being distributed amongst the trades. I get the same thing over and over, and I'm so proud when a guy or a gal comes up and says, you can't judge a book by its cover. You're different. You said that to me once. Eddie had to convince you to watch the guy online.
I got to convince myself every day, pretty much.
But, Jared, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard one thing that I either said on a podcast, on the shows that you bring me on in the Wealthy Plumber, on your Hoorah event? Have I ever said one thing where you're like, that's shady?
Do you want the real answer?
Yeah, no. If
No,
you have, I got to fix it. Have you ever heard one thing where you're like, that is not in alignment with my core values as a man?
Nope.
Not once.
Never.
I have been through our workbooks, our videos, thousands of videos, hundreds of workbooks, hundreds of pages in our workbooks, custom to HVAC and plumbing. And for 20 years, I've refined them and I've looked through them and I've like, if there's one thing that somebody could go, right there, Doug, you are doing this, or that's what I don't like, it's not in there. There's over 1 million words in our workbooks, all combined. 1 million. I don't believe there is a person that could find one word, one line that they would say, that does not resonate with being a man or woman of honor, character, and integrity, serving customers well, working on win-win agreements. I don't believe it exists. And if it ever does, I'm going to learn from that. If you would have said, do you really want the truth? Yeah, there was this one thing I heard you say one time, and I'd be like,
oh, crap.
Oh, I would either say, I don't remember saying it, and I would go, when did I say that? And I'd go back and fix it, or I would make sure I never say it again, or I never train that again. I'm just a country bumpkin from the sticks that hated salespeople too. And then because I was tired of being broke, I just decided to learn about sales. And then I said, you know what? I am going to figure out a way that I can be in sales and teach other people how to do it with integrity without being despised by whoever they're talking to, in whatever industry they're in. And I think one of those things is to be a better listener. That's why Foundation 4 is really important to me, being a rare listener.
Okay. We better call this podcast a day. You have the
I thought we were just getting
right
started.
now.
How long have we been doing this?
2 hours.
Really?
Yes. You have a world record already right now.
It's fun to be on
BT dubs.
on set with you, Jared. It's easy because you are such a good dude and you know so much about this.
Well, thank you. So before we end, how do people get a hold of you? Whatever.
I get to go into my
End
sales
spiel.
role.
Give your
Yeah.
end,
I
give
don't
your
really
end
have a
sales
spiel. I will share this. Before I walked in here today, Bryce Thomas sent me a text and he said, hey, Doug, last time you were on the show, you gave away Foundation 3, the Wordsmith program. Bryce has put together a way for anybody that watches this podcast to go to our website and get Foundation 4 absolutely complimentary. So go to www.synergylearningsystems.net. It's .net, not .com. .net/rare, RARE. If you have any trouble going to that link and typing that in, just go to synergylearningsystems.net, go to the Contact Us page, and then on the Contact Us page, hit the drop down on where you heard about us until you see Jared Williams, the Jared Williams Show, and the Wealthy Plumber. Click on that. That'll send our team an email, and we'll send you back absolutely complimentary the entire Foundation 4. Take your team through that. It is the number one way to solve a lot of challenges in our sales, our revenue. It's going to be a template on how. It's about 35 videos, I believe, on how to become an effective listener. And when you lower resistance by becoming a more effective listener, then your sales numbers go through the roof just by doing that. I will also say this. A lot of us, myself included, continue to work on how to become a better listener with our family, especially our significant others, our children, our parents. Everything that we teach in Foundation 4, and I mean everything, applies to our personal life, with our team, with our call center, with our family, our friends. It's powerful. It's kind of the love that I have for what I do really goes back to saying, how do we have an impact not just on businesses but on families? And how do we help men become better men, better providers, and really take care of our wives and our children?
Cool. There we go.
I appreciate you having me on here, Jared.
You're welcome.
You're a rare individual, and I really mean that.
I've been told that before.
This
but
industry,
maybe not in a good way.
This industry needs more of you, Jared.
Cool.
More of Eddie Barkhurst and more of you at Wahoo Plumbing and the Wealthy Plumber. If you are watching this podcast and you've been hesitating on signing up for the Wealthy Plumber, I think we have about 50 shared clients. That means I have 50 clients that are in the Wealthy Plumber. It has changed their life, their game. They understand business and the trades unlike they ever did before, getting to plug into you a couple times a week at the Wealthy Plumber.
There's a link in the description, BT Debs.
And it's incredibly affordable. It is the most economical training solution that I've ever heard of in any industry of what you're doing for what you're doing for the Wealthy Plumber. It's unheard of.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jared.